Hey guys, and welcome to this new series of mine. This completely unoriginal idea where I'm going to be talking about the movies I watched in a certain month. Now, it's going to be a little specific and not exactly like Karsten Runquist videos because I'm only going to be talking about the films I saw in theaters on that specific month. I wanted to start this type of video to celebrate the new films I've been seeing, the new releases in theaters. But the first few months are going to have a lot of re releases. As well as a few films that actually released in their home country last year but released in India a bit late. So I may not be able to celebrate the 2025 films in the first few months, but I will get there. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite film from that month. And if it's not a 2025 film, I'm going to be sharing my personal favorite 2025 film from that month as well. And there will also be a ranking of the films that I watched. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting off with January, the first thing I watched in cinemas this year was Mufasa, the Lion King. I'm surprised that I actually didn't dislike this as much as I thought I would. The biggest compliment I can give the film is that I wasn't bored by any measure. I mean, yeah, sure, the writing is not the strongest, the characters are randomly introduced, the back and forth structure makes the experience very rocky, the humor is forced, so are the songs, the film is more concerned with fan service about how our characters became so iconic rather than telling an actual interesting story. A lot of decisions don't make sense, characters suddenly change personality, romantic subplots are forced and random. It's not terribly written, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. I've seen this shit done a million times and better. The filmmaking is nothing stellar either. My boy Barry Jenkins is at the helm, but there were very few instances where I could feel his footprints on the project. It's just sad that Disney just cherry picked one of my favorite working directors and made him just another cog in this big soulless corporate machine. This movie flopped and I'm honestly glad about it. But if I were to ever wish this movie any form of success, it would be only because of the hope that Barry gets to fund his next project that hopefully isn't something like this again. Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. This was an unreal theatrical experience, to be honest. I mean, I decided to rewatch this because it had re-released in India, and I saw that everyone's Instagram stories was about like the crowds going crazy, especially in the songs. So you know what? I thought of getting in on the fun. And honestly, I surprisingly liked the film more than I did before. A lot about it works, and I honestly fell for its charm. It's shot and lit really well. Ranbir and Deepika are a dream pairing. The callbacks are well done. It's got slow emotional moments of character that really work. And the film is overall most definitely now iconic. Most of the completely packed hall was full of youngsters who were big raging fans of the film, so expectedly they hooted, hollered, and cheered for every character entry, every iconic moment and dialogue. But they also got out of their seats and danced for every song. Mind you, half the crowd had left their seats, flashed their cell phones, and sang and danced their lungs out for each and every song. And I have personally never witnessed anything like this inside of a theater ever, so it really was quite a moment to behold. It really speaks of the cultural impact that this film has had during its 11-year tenure. Of course, I mean, some parts of the film don't work. The overdone cliched tropes, the hypersexualization and objectification of women, random characters are introduced. It often has simple resolutions for complex conflicts. It has a lot of unrealistic elements, plot conveniences. I mean, I could go on and on. But despite all that, I had a theatrical experience unlike any other, and ultimately, the film won me over. Nosferatu, a filthy gothic masterpiece that made for one of my most crazy theatrical experiences that I've had the pleasure of witnessing this year. The filmmaking on display here is masterful. The camera zips and sweeps around gracefully, taking a life of its own. It's almost Spielbergian how the camera moves here, but it most certainly knows when to slow down and stop, to let a moment breathe, to let the terror in. And given how easy it is to scare me, the horror elements work more than well here. I was on the edge of my seat every moment, terrified at what could happen. The excellent score and sound design add to that. The narrative is constructed beautifully, though the pacing begins to feel a little sluggish towards the second hour for me. When I saw it again, it was completely fine. It all mostly works, and all I have to say is that this is one of the most beautiful looking films of 2024, with its lifelessly cold blues and fiery warm yellow contrasts. At the end of the day, I just want to say that when Eggers' previous film, The Northman, flopped, I was worried that he wouldn't get to make whatever he wanted, but I'm so glad that he was allowed to make this film, and I'm even more delighted at the fact that this actually performed well at the box office. It's one of the rare instances where an auteur-driven piece of cinema is actually supported and championed by general audiences. And with this film, Eggers yet again proves to me why he's one of the finest filmmakers working today. A real pain. Who would have thought that Jesse Eisenberg would be a solid filmmaker? Either way, this is sort of just what I needed the day I watched it. It's a perfectly little, small scale, low stakes, easy breezy, delightfully charming, hopeful and earnest slice of life film about pain and familial relationships. I absolutely loved this. It's hilarious, it's shot really well, it looks beautiful, it doesn't have any exceptional shots, but it wears its heart on its sleeve. And I kinda love that nothing much happens in this movie. It's just about people, and it's nowhere near perfect, though I love that it talks about privilege and acknowledging it. It does suffer from being a little too on the nose, but it's a short watch that leaves you feeling good by the end. Plus, it just felt great to watch a new, purely original film out in theaters when I saw it back then. It's not a sequel, prequel, reboot, or adaptation. It's a film with no grand stakes or bold, sweeping strokes of emotion. It's just a small and simple film about people, and I loved that. The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I walked into the cinema hall not knowing a damn thing about this movie, and I walked out shocked and moved. You feel its lengthy runtime, but it perfectly works for the film, and that final hour went by quickly. It really left me thinking the film is about one thing and then completely surprised me by becoming about something else entirely without once losing its thematic core. It's got some great performances and fleshed out characters, it takes some audaciously bold creative swings that come out of nowhere and somehow manages to make it all work. It's got the perfect blend of personal and political and makes me realize that the personal is political. Just a brilliant piece of filmmaking. I'm honestly very glad to have seen this in theaters, and though there weren't too many people in the hall, everyone burst into applause during the credits, which really was quite something. And my favorite film from January would easily be Nosferatu, and sadly no 2025 movies this month. And now we move on to the month of February. The first thing I watched in February was Deva. This movie reminded me of the now iconic dialogue exchange from Glass Onion.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb!
This was the first 2025 movie I watched this year, and after having seen the trailer, I was mildly excited to watch Deva. And walked out of the theater with those very hopes crushed. Dude, this movie just sucks. It's got like a million problems. I mean, celebration and glorification of police brutality, a confusing and needlessly complicated plot riddled with insurmountable plot holes, a boring protagonist that's uninteresting to watch, poorly written female characters that are simply there to service the plot, an off-screen romance that we never get to see, several convoluted plot points that make no sense the more you think about them, terrible VFX and green screen backgrounds, glorifying a morally questionable and all-around terrible person as a hero to be worshipped. I could genuinely go on and on. The acting is fine. The filmmaking is serviceably average. By the first half, I didn't like this movie, nor did I hate it. It was passable, mediocre. By the second half, I had brain cancer. I almost got a headache because of how bad it was. I walked out of that theater terribly disappointed by what I had just seen. Badass Ravi Kumar. Listen. When I talk about Badass Ravi Kumar, I don't even know if I'm being serious or not, okay? Because the audience and I were clapping and screaming with glee pretty much all the time. This was genuinely an unbeatable theatrical experience. It's 2.5 hours of pure brain rot. I had a wonderful time laughing my lungs out. It is by far the worst thing I have seen recently, and I absolutely loved it. Okay. On a more serious note, But let's talk about the next film, Interstellar. Man, what a fucking movie. My friends and I had booked tickets for the IMAX re release of Interstellar a month before I saw it, and I went with a group of 9 other people inside a fully packed theater, and I could not have asked for a better experience. Watching this in IMAX almost felt like a religious experience. I had already seen this film in 4DX about a year and a half before I saw it now, but IMAX is a whole other ordeal. It has constantly changing aspect ratios, but when it switches to wide and the whole image fills the entire screen, I needed to just take a moment to process the beautiful imagery that I was being exposed to. There's just something so magical about witnessing a larger than life image on a gigantic screen. It felt transcendental. The images, the sound, and Zimmer's bombastic score made the film feel like an out of body physical experience. Pure goosebumps filling my arm. I felt like I was levitating. Nolan's use of loud music and silences added to the physicality of the experience. It's like the movie sucked me in and didn't let me go. The seats were shaking and trembling. The sound was so loud that I could feel my seat vibrating. I felt like I was on that spaceship. And when the credits rolled, the entire hall burst into applause. It was otherworldly. And here are some of my takeaways with this Interstellar rewatch. 1. My classmates were gasping, shrieking, and crying during the movie, which only enhanced the community experience. Since they were so reactive, I was patiently awaiting for many scenes just to see how they'd react to it. I love the tiny callback of Cooper checking under the pile of clothes to see if Murph was hiding underneath as he was leaving his family behind. It's a very small moment, but it breaks my heart still. I love that little moment where Cooper hands over his earphones to Romilly, only for us to find out that he's been listening to ambient sounds of nature as we hear against the backdrop of the vast empty space outside the ship. And obviously, the entire docking sequence is just pure cinema, a perfect mixture of images and sound to create an out of body experience. It always puts me in a daze. I was just speechless at what I had just witnessed. Nolan was at the height of his creative capabilities. And honestly, I could just go on and on about my theatrical experience because this was definitely one of my favorite ones. When the screen cut to black, some of my friends were almost in tears. The experience was that beautiful. Yes, it has the Nolan exposition problem, but it's forgivable. And after a few days, I watched this in IMAX again because I would have done anything to relive what I had experienced that day. Conclave, a great film about power and those who seek it, about having faith and not giving in to hate. Despite being a film about voting and men talking inside closed rooms, this film felt like a thriller. Chava. For the most part, it's a forgettable movie that does absolutely nothing new, filled with endless war cries and excessive violence and bloodshed. And this could be a controversial take, but this movie is not my thing at all. At best, it's a lengthy and loud film about misguided ideas of patriotism. And at worst, it's a propaganda vehicle used to fuel hatred against certain communities and further the already prevalent divide in India. And even if I were to ignore these politically problematic aspects of the movie, even in terms of its filmmaking, this movie isn't very good. The action sequences are poorly edited and rarely are the shot choices impactful. At the end of the day, I think this is a dangerous movie that can incite communal conflicts, and it's terrifying that it's one of the highest grossing movies of India this year. Captain America Brave New World. Yeah, this was expectedly pretty bad. Just an inoffensive, poorly done film that I will forget about in T-1 day. Piss poor writing, terrible green screens, video game ass action scenes, a forgettable villain. Harrison Ford does not give a fuck, mediocre writing. The only compliment I can give this movie is that it's watchable. That too barely. I walked out feeling absolutely nothing. I was already having a pretty shitty day when I saw this, and this movie just made it worse. Marvel truly has fallen off, and I really miss when I used to be a fan of this franchise. Baby Girl. This was pretty much what I expected it to be, and it's not like I didn't enjoy the film, but it left me wanting a lot more. It's nicely shot, nicely performed, it has some wild moments, but I wasn't captivated by what was happening much, to be honest. I didn't care about the characters or the stakes. It's got some intense moments, but sadly, the more I think about this film, the lesser I start to like it. It's by no means a bad film, but in no way is it gonna stay with me in any shape or form. But I am glad I caught it in cinemas though. And my favorite film of the month is, obviously, Interstellar. And I'm not gonna pick a favorite film of 2025 because there is no single film from 2025 which I think is good, in February at least. This is my ranking. And thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.